Does that mean that it's ready? I don't know how you tell if anybody.
They're at the top.
Oh, okay.
0.
Yep. Might not be many people on there today.
So we're gonna see if anybody hops on.
We'll do getting on here to tell you the news.
If you haven't already heard.
If you haven't already heard, we're waiting. We'll give everybody a chance. Not sure who we've got on the Facebook world this morning. We've got a slow morning. Kids have been camping out, and so we're actually just enjoying the beautiful sunshine. Got a fresh fire behind us, hot kettle of coffee, and we've already devoured the muffins that we warmed over the fire. See if anybody else tunes in here. In our most immediate news, we have some lavender Orpingtons hatching out babies. So, been busy collecting chicks, getting them in the warmth of the brooder, bringing them inside, so it brings a little spring life into the brisk mornings of fall. So you'll be seeing some more about some lavender Orpington chicks soon.
I hope y'all are enjoying the weather.
It has. It's been an amazingly, just a really nice week. We've gotten a lot done. I've had some time on the farm. Rachel's working on one of her corn husk wreaths. So we just stay productive even as we're enjoying the morning with you guys. So hopefully everything's good with you. You can comment what's new with you all. But not sure if you heard the news. This morning we've got the news following what's been forecasted, I guess, for
Several years.
well, several years. People have talked about this. Our conspiracy theory buddies have told us what was going to happen, and it happened. But what happened? What am I talking about, Rachel?
So, if you all don't know, yesterday, November 15th, the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, decided to implement the okay that the federal government can have total control over the internet.
What does that mean? If this shouldn't be altogether quite as scary as what it sounds. You know, people like Edward Snowden actually blew all this out of the water, that they're already policing and using every form of electronics as a way of surveillance, of surveilling
And
the population.
Talk about the Patriot Act, that really,
Yeah.
and this had been going on since the 90s. I mean, with the Clinton administration, there was already some hearsay about control over the aspect of the internet.
Yeah, and even under Bush and everything,
Yeah.
really, the American people demanded that the government look into these things after 9/11, which I have my opinions about that. But they asked for the government to police the phone calls, police the internet, and to make sure this doesn't happen again. And so they really opened the door for a lot of that, and it provokes a lot of questions. You know, how often have you actually read the terms and conditions of use of Facebook, of whatever social media you're on, or any time that you engage in a new app, you read those terms and conditions? Many of us don't. I often don't. But our point is I think to really discuss, what does that mean? What's that mean for the homesteader? What does that mean for the Christian? What do you think?
Well, I had some caution. You know, I think there's a lot of homesteaders that have used the internet for money, for their income and things. And so when we talk about the federal control over the internet, we're talking about not only what services will be provided, how much it's going to cost. We're talking about content. We're talking about internet traffic, what you see. What does that mean for us? So if you all have followed us for a while, I think we've been on Facebook for 10 years. And so not this whole entire time, but for the past several years, there's been some things that have come to light for us. And so what that means is we want to share it with you all, what's going on in the world, what things that you all need to be precautionary about or look at in a way that maybe do some more research on. This means that a lot of things that I've talked about, that I've posted, that a lot of other homesteaders have been posting, their concerns, this can be censored initially.
Yeah, we've seen it. I spent the better part of a year completely separated from social media of any kind, and coming back to it, it's just obvious. All the shadow banning takes place. We've seen it in ministry. We've seen it on the farm page and in different things. And that's what you're seeing.
And specifically stop. Really.
But everything, all of these talking heads that deliver their opinions, I guess you could throw us into that bunch. What the complaints that come back are why do the algorithms, why does Facebook allow this information to be propagated or that information to be propagated? So there's been a call for censorship, and that's what a lot of people don't realize. When you're dealing with someone you disagree with, you should celebrate their freedom to disagree with you. And so this really is a step that bypasses Congress. It's not one that was anticipated by any of our legislatures in order to try to stop. We'll see next time they come in session if there's any push against it.
Even the FCC commissioner really slammed Biden over this.
Yeah, they, he has gone. This is what you see in countries. I remember several years ago in Cairo, where they seized communications, cell phones, internet, things like that, and they ended up rioting in the streets and things because it's important. Communication is everything. The breakdown of communication means the failure of anything in the workplace or in the home. Communication is key.
And if you're looking on the internet for certain information, and I think if we play this out, and I think this is going to play out for the next several years. I don't think this is going to be, it's not become apparent right off. But I think over the next several years, and there's some homesteaders that I've been following, their content is already being deleted from the internet.
Yeah, we saw this. We ran a little experiment ourselves one time, and there were things that before I had gotten off social media prior, I would share through ministry pages, and it would show up, and then I would have her as a guest come and view the page, and it wouldn't show up.
Yep.
And so there's things it doesn't notify you. Oh, this has been deleted. It removes that from the feed. For those who you hope want to see your content. So basically all of that, really, listen, all that's going to fail. The response of one missionary friend of mine, whenever he sees this sort of tyranny and even diminishing of freedoms and even faithfulness, he says, praise God. This is prophetic. This is what the scriptures tell us will happen, and it's happening. God's doing His will. But for those of you that, like Rachel, you said, as homesteaders, there's a tendency to say, well, my product, my presence, my voice is online.
Right.
Here's the danger, and here's what we're talking about, and what we want to bring to the conversation. A lot of people are saying, oh, fight this, stand up for your freedoms. Something we want to bring to the conversation is keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes open, because what this means is in the future, maybe not immediately, but inherently, if all things electronic, this video included, all things that remain, that continue to be propagated in time as they assume this control, if it remains, say from a ministry standpoint, these sermons as they remain, if that's the platform for ministry, if it's true that church online is the same as the gathering, then basically all that will remain will only be those state-approved messages.
Right.
Those state-approved sermons, state-approved churches, state-approved homesteads or productions, that are meeting whatever sort of socialistic concerns or provisions.
And I think, our message continually has been build your community. And what I mean by that is not simply where you're living, because we can look out on my community and I see a lot of people that disagree with me who would willingly turn me in a heartbeat. But I'm talking about your community being the ones who are encouraging you to keep going, the ones who are steadfast in their faith of Christ. And we need to make sure that you're not building your online presence to a point where that's going to be your income. I think that's the danger with a lot of us homesteaders, is that we're selling and expecting that income to come to us monthly. And if we don't already have that base down of customers, we're going to be hurt. You're going to be hurt.
Well, soon, I think, with all of the, and when she says customers, y'all know we talk about bartering. We're talking about people who, not even just money, but this is why it's so important. We like talking about this, getting out there, and it's really the only reason we decided to have a video this morning is just because of the urgency of the matter.
Well, it's not being spoken of, and even like I've told you, I didn't realize that this has been an ongoing issue since the 90s. And again, in the Obama administration, they tried to implement a lot of this. This is the first I've ever heard of it. And if we're not seeing it, and we may be seeing it on little snippets of the mainstream media, but when they're spinning it as equity, is everybody gets this, and a non-discrimination,
So equity is a communist term. If you all don't know that, equity is different than equality.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave that there, but equity is the same results. It's not the same foundation. It's not the same fairness. Equity means it's the same. Everyone has the same. It means even distribution of that regardless. So it's a communistic term.
Well, but they're being deceitful and lying about what they're trying to do. And if you have to bypass Congress to implement these things, that should send up a huge red flag for us Americans. And so, that's why I'm a big proponent of, if you have not started already, sorry, our roosters, we've got 5 over here. But if you haven't started already, I highly recommend that you start a library at home. We've been working to build that, not simply just storybooks, but I'm talking about skill books, how to do things, resources as far as medications, herbal supplements, things like that. And people get distraught when I say that, because they say, well, I don't have the money to do that. Well, I don't either, but I make the effort to go to thrift stores. Books are becoming almost obsolete in a lot of ways, and that's why I'm hesitant to have anything to do with like Kindles or anything like that, because that can be completely wiped. So if you haven't already, I would highly suggest that you start your own paper, physical library at home.
Well, you can see, and even recently, I think they've thrown out terms like book burners, and of course that's sort of the name of the game with the anti-fascist movement today is narcissism. They like to claim against everyone else all that which they are doing, and so the book burning that they've told people to let's get rid of this pedophile books, or say, oh, you're a book burner. Well, of course, you're literally preying upon children, and for terrible things, for sex, for labor, for their organs, for all sorts of things. Yeah, let's get rid of that. But that's not the connotation that book burnings have happened under every real fascist and communistic regime. You can look at China. You can see what China's doing. They're rewriting the Bible. They're taking Bibles from people and they're re-releasing them a new copy. They're doing this digitally. These are things. Just keep your eyes open. That's all we're saying. Know your literature. So
well, and be critical thinkers. I think that's one of the most important things, or recommendations, or suggestions. Is, you know, don't fall into this mentality of, well, what I think is right or what I'm doing is right. You know, you need to research and you need to back up your thoughts. You need to look at everything and consider it and weigh it out. I think that's biblical. I think that's scriptural. And God calls us to do those things.
Yeah.
You know, seek truth.
So we talk about, but it's important that you take the next step, I think, because we've said a lot, know your people.
Yeah.
But it really goes beyond that. Gather with your people. Get with your people. Like we have these conversations. We hope you benefit by some of our conversations. But man, we want to be with you on these things. We want you to come and visit us, see where we're at. We want to help you to be prepared where you're at. So we want the face-to-face connections. We've been striving to build those. We've been trying to build a system of bartering with our friends. We want you to be part of that. So if you're like listening in, you benefit. You need to take the step, send the message, come up here, either participate in a class or just come swing by so that we can talk and develop a pattern of life together. We want you to do that with your friends so that you're with them. Okay, spend time in one another's homes. Same with church, man. Get off the social media. Look, if you're not going to church, don't fool yourself by clicking onto Facebook and listening to now what is a state-approved message. You know, and you know, go where the gathering is. Know your people. Contribute to that people. Love those people.
Well, we
right?
need to keep in mind the church is a physical body, is a gift from God.
That's right. It's not a requirement. He doesn't say, you know, be this. You just are. You are this church, and so it doesn't make sense to say, well, I'm of the people of God, but I refuse to spend time with the people of God. Then you're not. You can go out from them because you're not of them, or you can be of them. It's natural. And now, granted, I want to be cautious here because I've witnessed this. I've heard this from a lot of people. Just because you walk into a building that says church on it, that may not be the case. These may not be the gathering of God's people. This may not be the Word of God preached. This may not, you know, so we're not talking about institutionalism. We're not talking about denominationalism. We're talking about preserving the heritage that's been given to you by our forefathers, by the saints who've gone before us, preserving that which is good in all that we have, it's just so important. And I think you can see this. Not only can you look at communistic cultures, but whenever you realize Hollywood is a information dissemination device.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. Go watch the Book of Eli. You know, apocalyptic sort of narrative, and which is centered around this collection of rebuilding of a library that centers around one man, Denzel Washington, who memorizes the Bible. So I'm not going to tell you any more than that. It's kind of gory. It's probably not for the kids. But look, man, it's everywhere. Get your books. Get a wholesome library in your own home. Build it in your church for your children. Read these books. It doesn't do you any good. You can stick the books there on the shelf, but it's like, I want to say Charles Spurgeon. I could be wrong on that quote, but he said that many Christians have enough dust on their Bibles to write damnation on the cover. Don't do you any good to have a Bible. Read that thing. It doesn't do you any good to have the commentaries. Read it. Invest. Quit bickering over the small things, and get to the real meat.
So I think, you know, our encouragement to you all is to be aware of what's going on. to ask the questions, to be around people who are going to encourage you to seek the truth and to seek Christ, and to ultimately, like I've said, get your houses in order.
Yeah, we need to think real soon what we can live without. And I think it's part of the deception is people think they cannot live without internet.
Well, and we need to ask why, why they want to silence people.
Yep. This is all part of a one-party system, a globalist agenda. And and listen, as much as I love the new title that I heard this morning of Beijing Biden, still it's pretty funny. You gotta admit, Beijing Biden. You'd be crazy to think that guy's pulling any strings, man. He's working for somebody, and it's not you. It's not the Christian. It's not the American people. Listen.
Well, and if you think bypassing Congress to implement an agenda is okay, you need to rethink yourself.
Yeah. So look, bottom line is, hit us up. Let's make sure we got real relationships, because there could come the day where even you don't see things like this. We don't have this conversation. There could come the day where this is censored. And I think it's even scary with AI, what we're seeing be able to twist. There could be videos like this that says things that we didn't say. So we got to be very careful. And look, the only safety is to turn it off, to get away from it. Well, we're trying to stick up that fight. For the time being, there is an urgency. But look, the door's closing, man. The door, if you're not seeing these things, if you're not willing to respond to the wisdom, and you can say you're a victim all the day long, but at the end of the day, being a victim don't keep you alive. Being a victim doesn't make anyone care.
And even when you hear the words non-discrimination and equity, you need to think twice about what's going on. So,
yeah, I think being a Christian doesn't mean, what it should.
Well, right.
Being a homesteader doesn't mean what it should. Being a homeschooler doesn't mean what it should. But listen, man, you got to get out of this system. Literally, the call in Revelation, a lot of people are talking about end time sort of things. And I'm not going to get into all of that. I do have my opinions. But listen, what's clear is there's the loving call in that love letter of Revelation and that Revelation of John. There's that loving call to the seven churches to strengthen what remains, to restore themselves to good doctrine, and to wholesome obedience and faithful fellowship. And but there's the call to come out of her.
Yep.
Listen, you can make your war against the public library. You can, I think, play the fool and try to redeem the government school system. It's not going to happen. You can fight that good fight, and I think God raises up men who can fight that fight, and we lend our support to them. But understand, all that is passing away. All the kingdoms are passing away. The world and all of its possessions with it. And so we set our hope on God, a kingdom that's not of this world, and so nor is our fellowship. And so we need to align ourselves with that fellowship. And I'll take the words of one man I highly esteem, who said that what you are becoming, you shall forever be. If you're a Christian, you should see a noticeable progression in faithfulness and in holiness and in purity through your life, because that's the trajectory of your existence throughout eternity. And I think that we can apply that in every way. What is our family looking like? What's our church life looking like? And sadly, I don't think it's much different.
But here's a little tip. It shouldn't look like the world.
It shouldn't look like the world. And so, friends, just take heed. Listen. There's part of me that just looks forward to the day where we shut the screen down, shut the phone off,
that's it.
And we still have our coffee by the fire, so long as God makes provision for that freedom. But we want you to be a part of that, and I fear that so many that we're watching that we love dearly, they may not be. The day always comes where the train leaves the station, so to speak, where the door closes. We can't presume upon the grace of God, or it would no longer be grace. The hour is near, and so we look to the heavens and in hope and in joy. Listen, maybe it sounds like fear mongering. I'm literally drinking coffee by a fire on a beautiful sunny morning, listening to roosters crow. All that stuff is the least of my worries, but I fear that there's a lot that's not the least of their worries, that I think will be taken by surprise, and so that's why we talk about these things. Mm-hmm. You know, what do you think?
I think it's time to start feeding animals.
Time to start feeding animals. The wreath is looking good.
I'm getting there.
But so anyway, always being productive and making things beautiful. I love that about you. Mm.
So be aware, be cautious, ask questions.
Yeah. So again, reach out, man.
Your community shouldn't be on the internet.
Yep. Let's get a real community. Let's get real together. Know who your people are. You know, and get with them. So. Hopefully y'all enjoyed that. Until next time, my hope is that we'll see some of you in person. And actually, you got a class coming up this evening.
Yeah, I got a class tonight.
So we will see some of you guys, So that's wonderful, man. We're looking forward to that. And we hope that your family is blessed. And so, man, get with your people. Praise God. Look to the heavens for the Redeemer's night.
And love your neighbor by defying tyranny. Y'all have a great day.